Man, do I love... Before the video starts, I just gotta say thank you for 300 subscribers. Now, you guys might not know, for those newcomers in the channel, but literally the Toad video that you guys watched is literally like one of the only reasons that my channel just blew up out of nowhere. It literally, like, here are the Social Blade stats. I just gotta say thank you guys so much. I can't literally express it into words. The support has been amazing. I've been getting really nice comments in the past recent days, and we've literally just hit like 200 like 2 to 3 days ago. Like, if you really put it in my perspective, like, I just started YouTube. It hasn't even been a year yet, and I'm already at 300. Like, to me, that's just insane. Thank you guys so much. It really means a lot to me. Anyways, I'll let you guys continue watching the video. Some Luigi's Mansion. It's so different and unique compared to Mario and Legend of Zelda. It doesn't have you adventure in a happy town. It doesn't have you adventure in a forest, but no. It has you adventure and explore in a mansion filled with ghosts. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about why Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is so, underrated compared to its predecessor, Luigi's Mansion. And now, since Luigi's Mansion 3 is coming out this year, it might as well be a perfect time to talk about why Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is such an underrated game. We're going to be looking at the bright sides of this game and the downsides of this game, their pros and cons. Hope you guys would really enjoy this video, and Lakitu, start. Like I said earlier in this video, I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of this game. And not gonna lie, I do have a bit of a soft spot for this game, since this is probably one of my favorite series that Nintendo has ever created. Now, I'm going to be starting off with the pros, since I'm pretty sure you guys already have a few ideas what the cons are going to be. Anyways, let's get started. Let's start off with the most obvious things out of the way. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon has multiplayer, not only locally but also online. And let's say one of your friends has the game but you don't. They also offer download play. I'm hoping we get to see more multiplayer functions in Luigi's Mansion 3. So you might be wondering, what do they have to offer in this multiplayer? Well, they offer 3 cool game modes that you're able to play with your friends. I'm going to be reading the description of each game mode in case you don't understand what it means. Well, let's start off with the first one, Hunter Mode. Hunt down ghosts to use effective teamwork to clear each floor as quickly as possible. The second game mode that they offer is Rush Mode. Find the exit before the time runs out. Search objects and defeat ghosts to extend your time limit. The third game mode that they offer is Polterpup Mode. Track down Polterpups with your Dark Light device and capture every last of those pesky mutts. You might be wondering, well, how do you know the game mode's gonna end? Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon offers floors. It's basically the levels you have to go through to complete each game mode. They offer 5 floors, 10 floors, 25 floors, and endless floors. It's basically where you get to choose when the game's gonna end. You get to go on forever, or you just play one round with your friends and just end it there. They also offer difficulties. They offer normal mode, hard mode, and expert mode if you're literally a god at this game. So yeah, those are the options that they offer for the game modes, and those are the 3 game modes that they offer for multiplayer. Hey, stop right there. It's a little mini advertisement, but do you still like playing Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon? Do you like playing the online mode, or just like playing with your friends? Do you want to replay Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon after this video? Well, if you said yes to a few of those questions, now go ahead in the description below. I left a link in the description. It leads to a Discord group called Scare Scraper. This Scare Scraper Discord group is basically a Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon group where you get to play with other members that still play this game and are still active. This server is very small, but the community is very nice. So I recommend you guys join that Discord group if you still want to play Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. I'm in it as well, so if you want to play with me sometime or play with other people, then go ahead and join now. Anyways, let's go back to the video. Alright, the next pro is like 2 in 1. It can be considered 1 pro in total, but I'm just going to say it's 2 pros. One very but small useful pro is that Luigi can jump. Now this can be very useful when Luigi's going up against multiple ghosts with multiple powers. Let's say Luigi's going up against a greenie, but there's a hider throwing books at him. So when he's trying to vacuum up the greenie, the hider's going to be throwing books at him. So you just have to jump over those books while still trying to vacuum up the greenie. This is very useful, but it's a very small pro. Just like the first game, there's different varieties of ghosts, from a fat ghost to a thin ghost. But my point is that you need a bit more strategy when fighting these ghosts in a group. Now let's get into the pros that people don't really like to mention about this game. Well, I might as well start off with the soundtrack. The soundtrack has more music than the first game because all you hear is this. But with Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, you can hear different soundtracks like this one, or this, or even this. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon has more variety of music. So, yeah, I gotta admit, that tune of Luigi's Mansion is very, very catchy. But it gets kinda, boring listening to the same thing over and over again. But Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon doesn't have that. It has different soundtracks. So, let's head into the next pro. One other pro that Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon has over Luigi's Mansion is the variety of mansions that Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon has to offer. In Luigi's Mansion, you're only exploring one big mansion, which might sound pretty cool, but in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, you have 5 mansions to work with, which in my opinion is a big upgrade compared to the first game. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon also consists very, very unique ghosts. Now you might be thinking,
well, lucky Lakitu, Luigi's Mansion has portrait ghosts and Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon doesn't. So how is that making the ghosts unique?
Well, here's my point. Excluding the portrait ghost, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon has very, very unique ghosts. For example, Slammer, a big red strong ghost that can do a lot of damage to you if you get hit. We also have Hider. This ghost throws boxes and pots at you and other stuff, but they also hide in boxes and more. We also have Greenie, the normal ghost that you usually encounter half of the time. Not only these are their normal forms, but they also have alternative forms as well. For example, Greenie can come with, different forms. It can come in a suit of armor, it can come with, frying pans, it can come in a mummy, and they also have their really strong forms as well. This goes for the rest of the ghosts as well. Now I know Luigi's Mansion is mostly targeted to be, a bit of a scary game, but that doesn't mean it can't have some comedy in it. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon offers some really funny cutscenes, like this one.
I do it. Uh-oh. Hello?
So you might be wondering why Nintendo would add such a funny cutscene like that one you just saw. Well, if you really think about it, it's Nintendo. I think it's now time to move on into the cons. But before that, let's discuss what we found out about the pros about this game. Well, the first one that we talked about was the variety of different multiplayer modes that there are. And the fact that it also has multiplayer, you get to play with your friends or play with other people online. The varieties of ghosts that they have, the variety of mansions, and the great soundtrack that they have in this game. And we can't forget about the comedy. In total, that's 6 pros. You might be thinking, well, why is this game so underrated in the first place? Well, that's where the cons come in. Well, in the beginning of the video, I did say I have a soft spot for this game, but that doesn't mean I won't go a little bit harsh on it. And Nintendo, what were you thinking with the bosses? Like, don't get me wrong, in my personal opinion, I think they're great bosses. It's just that some are very lazy and way too easy. Alright, you guys with me? I'm gonna be reviewing all 7 bosses from Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon with only 2 words, good and bad. Ready? Go. Good, bad, good, bad, 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 good. Alright, now let me explain why I said bad for a few of the bosses. You see, when you think of a boss, you probably think of the sweet victory, the grind, the hours that you spent on that game to defeat that boss. And, you know, you deserve that win after completing that boss, you know, since it was very, very difficult. And the bosses that I said bad, they weren't that difficult. They were really easy. Like, they were just lazy creations and way too easy. I think they don't even need to be called a boss. You see, with the bosses that I said good, they actually gave you a bit of a challenge, or they were unique or fun to play against. But with the bosses that I said bad, they were just lazy and easy. Now, you see, with this boss right here, I actually think it was a fun and unique boss, but like, if I were to, you know, be honest, it's just too easy and boring. You see, like I said before, when you think of a boss, you think of the boss that gave you a hard time, and after defeating it, you felt really good, and you felt like the champion of the game. And if you compare each boss of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon to the Portrait Ghost of Luigi's Mansion, you might have noticed that Luigi's Mansion has, you know, more difficult bosses, aka the Portrait Ghost, since all of the Portrait Ghosts have a unique style to beat them. Now, I'm not saying Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon doesn't have any effort at all to defeating the bosses. I'm just saying that a few of them do have a unique style to beat them. Well, I should say all of them have a unique style to beat them, except just a few aren't that good as others. Just like my pro, this is like a 2-in-1. You see, you can count it as one con, but in reality, I'm just saying it's 2 cons. Now, these 2 cons are probably the most heard cons in this whole game. The missions and the backtracking, and man, do I gotta agree. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't any good missions in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. It's just that the backtracking ruins it all. You see, in Luigi's Mansion, it's like a mini open world mansion. You get to go anywhere at any time you want to throughout the whole game. You get to explore any area you want to. But with Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, you have missions, which just ruins the whole algorithm of Luigi's Mansion. You see, if y'all want to be honest, I hope in Luigi's Mansion 3 brings it back to the old days with no missions. Now, if they do have missions, I'm not gonna hate it, of course. I'm just gonna judge it for not having a mini open world like Luigi's Mansion. And the backtracking is unreal. To beat some certain missions, you need to go to some certain areas that you already been to, which can be very, very annoying sometimes when you just want to progress through the game. Now, another very common con that everybody has probably talked about once when they ever played Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is this. Fine, I'll admit it, the tune is very catchy, but put it in perspective like this. Alright, let's say that you finished catching a ghost that was required, and then you have to go to a required area to complete the mission, and then all of a sudden, you hear this. Like, dude, you're not gonna tell me that gets annoying soon. And what's even worse, you get that sound every time, like 3 times in a single mission. Like, you're not gonna go in a straight face and say, oh dude, I love this tune, I'm definitely not gonna get annoyed by it every time I get this call. Like, come on, you have to admit that's gonna get very annoying every time, like 5 times in a single mission. Alright, this con is about to go against one of my pros, but I'm still gonna mention it anyway because it's a very valuable piece of information. Is that the tone doesn't match with the game at all. Well, you might be wondering, what do you mean by tone? Well, what I mean is, you know, the setting of the game. I mean by like the way Luigi acts and the comedy. It doesn't match the tone because the game's supposed to be a bit scary, but not too scary since it's Nintendo we're talking about here. But Luigi's Mansion had that. And you might hear this very often. Somebody talks about the first game, Luigi's Mansion. Remember that one time when the lights went out of the mansion? Now that scene was amazing, let's be real here. It just upgraded the game to another level, which made it a bit scarier. Luigi was whistling and there was music nowhere. It was just pure quiet and all you hear was Luigi was whistling. But in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, yeah, they do have a bit of that. It's just that a lot of it is just ruined by the comedy of the game. Because here, check this out. Luigi's Mansion, there's like no comedy at all, like barely any of it. But in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, you had scenes like that elevator scene I showed earlier, and like this waving scene, and others as well. Which, yeah, you gotta admit, it's a bit funny. But it's just ruining the tone of the game, which is another reason why this game's very, underrated. Another con I can think of is that a few people think that the variety of mansions was a really bad idea. Now you might have not heard this, but back in the day when Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon was just released, I heard a lot from my friends and other people on the internet saying that the variety of mansions kind of ruined it, I don't know why, but they just liked a big old mansion, just one simple mansion. It's like a mini open world, and a lot of people preferred that than having missions and other varieties of mansion. I don't know. I can see where they're going with this, but myself personally, I don't really agree with them. But I decided to mention this anyway in case a few others agree with this. Alright, I think it's about time to discuss about all the cons about Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. And after that, we're gonna make a mini summary about why I think Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is so underrated. So the cons were the lazy bosses, Professor EGAT calling you every single time, the fact that there are missions, the variety of mansions, the comedy, and the tone of the game. And the backtracking, and we also can't forget no freedom. In total, that's 8 cons. That's not very good if you ask me. Alright, I think I got a summary now. Tell me in the comments below if you guys agree with me or not. I think Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is very underrated because of the lazy bosses, the fact that people always compare Dark Moon to Luigi's Mansion, that it doesn't have portrait ghosts, the fact that there's too much backtracking, and the fact that there are missions which ruins the freedom and the exploration of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and that also ruins the algorithm of the game. Also, the game is not matching with its tone because there's too much comedy in the game, which doesn't make it scary at all. Now, ways that Nintendo can probably make up Luigi's Mansion 3 10 times better than the first two is keep the comedy very low, or no comedy at all. Luigi's Mansion is supposed to be a game that gives you a bit of the chills every time you play the game. Also, make just one mansion and make it like a mini open world like the first game. Make it where you're able to explore any area at any time you want to. And keep it up with the good soundtracks, Nintendo. You actually did pretty good in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon with the soundtrack. Or if you want to go back to the old days and make it the same way as Luigi's Mansion, no problem. But at least make a little bit of variety of versions like Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon did. If you're not going to add portrait ghosts, at least make unique bosses and actually make them fun and challenging, unlike Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, or just add back portrait ghost. And keep the backtracking very, very low. This is if you're going to add missions, make them at least interesting, and like I said before, keep the backtracking very, very low, because it's going to become very annoying and boring every time we have to go back to the same area. And like Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, go ahead and add a multiplayer mode, and make it online as well like in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. And maybe you can add some more game modes, like who can catch the most boos in like 5 minutes. Anyways, in a nutshell, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is very underrated because it's always getting compared to Luigi's Mansion's Portrait Ghost and good exploration and adventure and basically no backtracking at all. And it's always getting compared with its good bosses. Anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you guys haven't already, drop a like and comment down below if you guys enjoyed and give me some feedback. Do you guys disagree with a few things I said, or do you guys agree with everything that I said? Thank you guys so much for the support. I can't believe we hit 300 subscribers in such a short amount of time. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. And Lakitu out.